Broadcast Center in Los Angeles. This is KCAL9 News at 8.
Look at him,
Now at 8, a memorial for a man killed on his bike quickly turned into a violent melee in the middle of a South LA intersection.
A-listers showing their support for a celebrity photographer who was hit by a car. How Hollywood is helping with her recovery.
And the Midsummer Classic is returning to Dodger Stadium with the 2020 All-Star Game awarded to Los Angeles.
All right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Elsa Ramon.
And I'm Peter Dow. What started as a peaceful tribute to a man who was killed riding his bike turned into a violent rampage in South LA.
During that memorial, a man was struck by a hit-and-run driver, and the crowd started attacking a squad car, which caused a massive police response.
Yeah, this all happened at the intersection of Manchester and Normandy.
KCAL9's Dave Lopez has dramatic cell phone video of the memorial that turned into a melee.
Behind me, a memorial for a biker who was hit and killed at this intersection by a driver who didn't stop. What was supposed to be a tribute to that fallen biker turned into something else.
Look at him,
The screams of the crowd, and then there's chaos at the intersection of Manchester and Normandy. The man hobbling off before collapsing on the sidewalk is the one who got hit by a driver who made a turn at the intersection, hit him, a glancing blow, and then sped off. Police are still looking for the driver.
I think the guy, he jumped in front of the hood, and the lady just stepped in the pedal and just take off down.
His friend got killed right over there.
According to police, just before 1 o'clock this afternoon, about 30 to 40 people on their bikes started circling in the intersection of Manchester and Normandy. They were doing this as a tribute to their friend who had been killed last night while riding his bicycle right near the intersection. It was supposed to be a tribute. Suddenly, a police officer shows up, realizes the intersection is being blocked, and then, according to witnesses, his squad car is pummeled with rocks, bottles. The people start jumping on top of it. Someone pulls out a knife and flattens one of the tires.
They was jumping in on the top of the hood and hitting the windows. They pull a knife and they bust the tires on the police car.
The LAPD response was massive. Squad car after squad car arrived on the scene. People were yelling, screaming, running around in the intersection. No one else was injured except the one who was hit by the vehicle, and there were no arrests made. And within an hour, order somehow had been restored. For a time, it didn't seem possible that the situation could be controlled as quickly and as peacefully as it was. But it did happen. Again, no arrests and just the one injury. From South LA, Dave Lopez, KCAL9 News.
A local doctor is under arrest tonight, accused of sending sexually explicit pictures to an officer who was posing as an underage girl online. Police are calling 35-year-old Jonathan Ellis a child predator. He's currently a resident physician in Long Beach. Police are asking other victims now to come forward.
Celebrities are rallying behind a photographer fighting for her life after she was hit by a car. KCAL9's Christy Fajardo shows us the support now pouring in.
Celebrity photographer Sarah Dunn was struck in this intersection a week ago Tuesday. Her husband is now raising money for what is sure to be a very long recovery and believes she'll be overwhelmed when she learns about the response. From her A-list clientele, it's clear celebrity photographer Sarah Dunn is in high demand. But when she wakes up from her coma, she'll also know she's held in high regard.
It'll give us such encouragement to kind of realizing so many people love her and care for her.
Her husband, Marcus Doyle, has been at her bedside since last week. He says the 44-year-old was crossing the street at Franklin and North Bronson when she was hit by a speeding car. She's been unconscious at Cedars-Sinai with a traumatic brain injury ever since.
She's a very determined woman, and I don't think this is going to stop her.
Doctors believe she will recover, but the road could take years of costly treatment.
We just want her to wake up, not be worried about anything except getting better.
That's why Doyle turned to GoFundMe to try to raise $1 million. But even he
It's unbelievable.
is floored by the response. Stars like James McAvoy have donated, so has Kristen Bell. But it's the complete strangers who surprised him the most.
We didn't realize the scale of it and how what a far reach she has.
Now he can't wait to tell Dunn how much her work has inspired others. And it's not just the celebrities she photographs who have legions of loving fans.
I can't thank them enough. I can just say, thank you so much. I'm just overwhelmed by it.
As for the driver who hit Dunn, we're told he did stop and that the LAPD is now investigating. The GoFundMe campaign has already raised tens of thousands of dollars in just 2 days. If you'd like to donate, we put a link on our website, cbsla.com. In East Hollywood, Christy Fajardo, KCAL9 News.
New sexual assault allegations tonight against actor Kevin Spacey. LA County prosecutors say they are reviewing a case submitted by the LA County Sheriff's Department last week. The Sheriff's Department's Special Victims Bureau began an investigation last December over an incident that reportedly happened in 1992 in West Hollywood involving a man. The House of Cards star has already been accused of assaulting more than a dozen men. In addition to the new criminal accusation, Metropolitan Police in London are investigating 20 accusations of misconduct against Spacey, who was an artistic director of the Old Vic Theater. There's also a criminal investigation in Massachusetts where a news anchor accused Spacey of groping her son. Spacey has not commented on the latest allegations.
All eyes are on Syria tonight as the U.S. continues to weigh its response to the country's alleged chemical attack over the weekend. Talks of a possible military strike is souring relations with Russia. KCAL9's Mola Lange explains.
Well, Peter, Elsa, President Trump appeared to show his hand, or at least part of it today, promising a military strike on Syria. The president included some harsh words, not just for the Assad regime, but for Russia. President Trump inched closer to a dangerous confrontation with Russia Wednesday over plans for a possible military strike against its ally, Syria.
The president holds Syria and Russia responsible for this chemical weapons attack.
The alleged attack in the rebel-held town of Douma killed dozens of Syrian civilians. In an extraordinary tweet earlier in the day, the president warned Russia to, quote, get ready for nice and new and smart missiles to hit the region.
They guaranteed that the use of chemical weapons by Syria would not happen again. They failed at that.
Despite the president's rhetoric, both the White House and the Pentagon say a final decision on military action has not been made.
We stand ready to provide military options if they're appropriate, as the president determined.
Last year, the U.S. fired 60 cruise missiles from 2 destroyers in the Mediterranean. One failed, but the other 59 hit their targets. This time, the options also include launching missiles from submarines both in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, as well as from aircraft operating out of Europe or the Persian Gulf. Russia has a sophisticated air defense system station in Syria and has warned to meet any U.S. strikes with a response. The Kremlin maintains claims of a chemical weapons attack were fabricated. While President Trump hinted in his tweets at a missile strike on Syria, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders insists that all options remain on the table, including actions in addition to missile strikes. At the White House, Mola Lange, back to you in L.A.
A major shakeup in Congress and the Republican leadership. House Speaker Paul Ryan announced he will not seek re-election. Ryan joins the more than 40 Republicans who have now decided they will not seek re-election.
This is a job that does not last forever.
House Speaker Paul Ryan told his colleagues and constituents he is leaving Capitol Hill when his term ends in January.
What I realize is if I am here for one more term, my kids will only have ever known me as a weekend dad.
The 48-year-old Wisconsin Republican was reluctant to accept the speakership, but now calls it one of the greatest honors of his life. Ryan counts comprehensive tax reform as his top legislative achievement, and so do his colleagues.
He's why we have a new tax code for families, and he's why our military is being rebuilt.
Ryan received a standing ovation from members of his conference, and many shed tears.
It's tough for me personally because he's the one that got me here.
Ryan isn't alone in his decision to leave. Several dozen of his fellow Republicans aren't seeking re-election in November. GOP lawmakers downplayed concerns of possibly losing their majority and their speaker.
We'll be okay. We got great leadership. Our bench is deep.
Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Majority Whip Steve Scalise are seen as potential frontrunners for the speakership should Republicans hold a majority in the next Congress. McCarthy's district includes Lancaster and Fraser Park. When asked about succeeding Ryan, he says his focus right now is keeping the GOP in the majority.
Well, one of baseball's signature events is returning to the Southland after a 4-decade absence.
A lot of people happy about this. KCAL9's Jill Arrington is here with all the details. Jill.
Oh, LA is getting so many exciting events, and now the Midsummer Classic is returning to Chavez Ravine, with Major League Baseball announcing the 2020 All-Star Game will be played at Dodger Stadium. Now, it's the first time the game will be played in Los Angeles since 1980.
I think it's an opportunity for us to showcase what may be the greatest generation of young players in decades in one of our major media markets. The exposure here in LA will be a multiple of what you get in some other cities, and that's really important for the growth of our game.
What a great venue. It's a fan experience. It promotes that. The renovations that ownership has done, and for us to be able to showcase that in 2020 is really exciting for all of us.
It's obviously going to be a shot in the arm economically for the city, all the activity that people will be bringing here as they come from around the country and around the world. And it just reminds everyone that this is the place to be.
I am an Angelino. And in my lifetime, I've never got to witness an All-Star game here in LA. So truly a special day for me, not only as a baseball player, but as a kid who grew up here in Los Angeles.
And President Stan Kasten promises it'll be a party in LA like none other. We're going to have much more later tonight on Sports Central.
All right, thanks, Jill. Breaking her silence, pop diva Mariah Carey speaks out on a mental health disorder that she's had for years. Ev.
And we're getting a look outside right now at the Santa Monica Pier. Some changes on the way and very windy weather here to stay for a bit. And have your forecast ahead.
Mark Zuckerberg admits his personal information was also swept up in Facebook's massive data scandal. I'm Kenneth Craig with a look at the CEO's second day being grilled on Capitol Hill.
Then dramatic video of Southland residents risking their own lives to save others in a raging apartment fire.
CBS LA is now podcasting. We've got 2 new shows for you to listen to. CBS LA Uncut takes a deep dive into the big stories that you see here on KCAL9. And In the Air with Stu Mendel, you know that familiar voice you hear from Sky 9 every night. Well, you can find them both at cbsla.com/audio or on your favorite podcasting apps like Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. New episodes every Friday.